Hey, it's Lemon. Welcome to the Backlogs. Hope you're doing well. Got a very different game than I'm used to for you today. Soulmask, a survival sandbox RPG that focuses on world exploration and resource management. How is that different? Well, unlike other games I've played with that premise, this one focuses on building up a population of NPCs, a tribe, if you will, and assigning them roles in your empire. They can harvest things for you, craft items, move resources to specific locations, and even fight alongside you in raids. If you can do it, chances are your tribe can do it just as well, if not better. An open world survival game that lets you automate your survival. Pretty cool premise if you ask me, which is why I immediately rejected that premise and tried to do everything myself. Place your bets now on whether or not that was a terrible mistake. Oh, okay, most of you immediately assumed I was unable to survive on my own.
Ye of little faith!
Yeah, no, that's probably a solid guess actually. But why guess when we can watch my struggles in real time? Today, we're gonna find out. Can you beat Soulmask without a tribe? Now, before we get too far into the video, a quick thank you to Soulmask for sponsoring today's challenge run and for challenging me to break their game. And if you like what you see today, their game officially launched today on Steam after nearly a year of early access. And to celebrate that fact, they're including the first expansion, Shifting Sands, for free with any purchase of the base game for the month. So grab it while you can. Use my link in the description or pinned comment down below and let them know I sent you. Always good to let developers know that letting me break their game was worth it for them. In any case, let's get started. Soulmask is one of those survival games that lets you play online and form guilds with other players, which inevitably means engaging in full-on wars and raids. But that's the opposite of what we need for this challenge run, so we're going to be playing solo today. When you make a game, you've got two choices: the Cloud Mist Forest, which is the base game, or Shifting Sands, which is the new expansion. We'll be attempting to beat both scenarios, but I'll tell you right now that Shifting Sands is a much more difficult scenario, so let's start with Cloud Mist Forest until we get our bearings. Alright, character creation. At first glance, it's not very detailed. There's only 9 face shapes, 5 hairstyles, and limited color options. But if you were playing the game normally, any enemy barbarians you convert to your tribe add to your options. So if you're running around converting barbarians to your cause like you're supposed to, you'll be able to change your character model to something more your style as you play. We won't have that luxury, of course, since we're not in the business of playing with friends, so default man it is. Story time! Not much to it, really. This land is ruled by other tribes, all of whom are a big fan of ritual sacrifice. So, that's fun. And oh look, we're next on the chopping block. Or we would be, if not for the intervention of another tribe who just so happened to attack in the nick of time. Alright, good luck with your raid. Feel free to burn the whole thing to the ground. Oh, you already did. Okay, well, I'm clearly not needed here. And after a frantic run through the jungle and falling off a cliff or two, we come across an ancient relic. And being the naturally curious person that we are, we decide to pull a Prometheus and touch it. What are these, bees? Ah, not the bees! Oh, it was a mask. There are a whole bunch of masks to find in the game, all with their own effects, but we only get 3 to choose from to start. There's the Civilization Mask, which focuses on being in the fray and tanking, the Rich Mask, which is focused on ranged combat, and Option 3, the Conquest Mask, which reduces falling damage, lets you turn invisible, gives you HP leech with all of your attacks, makes you harder to detect, and increases your backstab damage by 15%. And I know that doesn't sound like a solo-friendly mask, but I need you to trust me on this one.
Ye of little faith!
And with my mask acquired, it's time to start surviving and help everyone around me not do that. Ah, the beach. The starting point of every survival game known to man. The game offers you some guidance if you're not sure what to do, which is displayed in the top left corner, but you don't have to do it if you don't want to. Considering I don't know what I'm doing, we're gonna follow its advice pretty much the entire first scenario. But to cut to the chase, let me tell you what our goals are. In order to beat this scenario, we're gonna need to build a base, craft and upgrade our gear, and then beat the 5 bosses located around the map. There's several mini-bosses, raids, dungeons, and other nonsense we can engage with as we explore, and we will, since it tends to give you exceptional loot, but if we kill those 5 bosses, I think it's safe to call it a victory and move on to the next scenario. If you've ever played a survival game, the early game is pretty much exactly what you're used to. Grab rocks, sticks, and plants, make them into simple supplies, then get yourself a set of stone tools. Use said tools to decimate the environment, and gain experience that lets you decimate said environment even better in the future. And this is where the RPG side of things comes into play. We've got several pages to dig through. The first is your basic stats. Each stat gives you bonuses when upgraded, but all you need to know is that Perception boosts your skill with bows and throwing weapons, Physique increases your health and resilience against status effects, Strength increases greatsword and hammer damage and makes you able to throw things farther, Endurance gives you more stamina and reduces stamina costs, and Agility increases attack speed and the damage of literally every other weapon, which feels a bit unbalanced, but if the game wants to make it obvious which stat to pick, I'm not gonna say no. The next stat page is your proficiency page. When you get better at skills like mining, weapon crafting, etc., you can pick how that improvement affects your character. That might mean you gather resources faster, have larger outputs when you craft, or maybe the quality of the thing you're crafting is just better more consistently. Good page to visit whenever you hit a milestone. And lastly, we've got the mastery page. This page is all about weapons. Use a weapon enough, and you'll unlock the ability to change its special skill move. We won't cover what they all are or what they do, but just know there's a little bit of something for everyone in here. And after spending a good while attacking the environment and covering my shame with clothes I made with my bare hands, I think it's time we took a look at the next part of this survival RPG, the tech tree. Now don't panic. I know it looks overwhelming, but you can't just upgrade your tech to your heart's content. You need to advance to the appropriate age first before you can start doing things like smelting iron or crafting explosives. Yes, you heard that right. And yes, I'm excited too. We also have another tech tree we need to consider, the mask tree. This tree does two things. It unlocks new special abilities for our mask, which is always nice to have, and it increases the speed at which our proficiencies advance. So if you want to max out a specific skill, like mining, put points into the mining node and you'll gain mining XP faster. But in order to upgrade our mask, we're going to need some green crystals, which can only be found out in the ruins hidden throughout the jungle. And considering everything in the jungle wants to eat me, let's make a base to make sure we have a place to call home when we inevitably respawn. But a home needs a name, and thus the Academy finds its way to Soulmask. Another world to conquer, another world to burn. And with a bonfire placed, we've officially staked our claim on a portion of this world. Oh look, a friendly vagabond. I don't remember saying you could sit at my bonfire, but sure, make yourself at home. For the sake of explaining how things normally work, I will be allowing this one particular vagabond into my tribe. But the only thing they'll be doing is laying around the house and eating my food. So they're literally a hindrance to my run. Which means I know exactly what to call you. Say hi, Carl.
Hi, Carl.
I have instant regrets. If Carl actually pulled their weight, we could assign them work. Seemingly anything we can do ourselves, Carl can do better. Crafting, farming, managing animals, making sure all my bonfires and torches are still stocked with fuel, upgrading the base, hell, they can even sort items. I don't think I've ever seen a survival game give you this much freedom before. You might literally be able to let the game play itself. And fun fact, that was my initial challenge run idea. I was gonna beat the entire game without ever picking up a weapon, but fate had other plans. Yep, that's a firebomb. And if you think I'm gonna let Carl of all people take my glory and burninate things with firebombs instead of me, you've got another thing coming. But until then, let's move forward, shall we? I take advantage of the base building system and make sure that Carl has a safe place to sleep at night, the mooch. Make a few crafting stations so that I can upgrade my tools, then use said stations to jump a few ages. No more primitive tools for us. We're going straight to beast bones, baby. But beast bone tools require beast bones, which means it's time to go sexy party solaire on the local denizens of the forest. Aw yeah, spiked whips for everyone. Because sexy party solaire doesn't spike the punch, he spikes the whips. And hey, would you look at that? Those crazy tapirs were guarding a chest of those green crystals I need to upgrade my mask a bit. Which I do immediately, because the sooner I max out my skills, the better. With that done, it's just a matter of exploring the map and looting everything and anything I can find. Hey, how's it going? Mind if I put my hammer here? Thanks. Really appreciate you holding on to it for me. Though maybe next time, don't use your face. Now, here's the thing. We've got two options when it comes to equipping ourselves. We could keep grinding out resources and upgrading our crafting and gathering skills, or we could just rob everyone blind and upgrade our gear that way. Both are viable options, so go with whatever option feels more fun to you. Considering we needed to raid a nearby camp anyway to continue our progress, I'm going with option 3, which is a little bit of both. And after exploring a nearby ruin, I find the first upgrade to my mask. This first upgrade can be found out in the wild, but from here on out, the upgrades for our mask will require us to kill bosses to unlock. So we have to enjoy it while we can. This particular unlock is unfortunately useless to me though, since it makes it so that you can convert enemies to your cause if you do enough damage to them, but don't kill them. A quick and easy way to recruit tribesmen. And unfortunately for everyone on this island, I don't need any. But after making a quick stop to use all the animal corpses I've been collecting to upgrade my armor to beast hide, and upgrading all of my tools so that my grinding sessions go a little bit faster when I return to them, I decided to focus on exploring the map. But don't worry, We don't have to run back and forth across the entire thing to clear it. We just need to find enemy scouts, which conveniently works the same way as deterring an enemy. Simply bring them down to low health, walk up to them all intimidating like, and press E. And just like that, all their knowledge is now mine. Oh hey, this guy had some gauntlet weapons on him before he mysteriously died. I wonder if those are any good. Get fucked! Get all the way fucked! So yeah, gauntlets are pretty dang overpowered. They may not do massive amounts of damage in a single swing, but if you're good at parrying, the gauntlet riposte hits enemies multiple times, which is excellent when paired with my health leech ability. And if you hold the attack button, you just go absolutely ham on your target until you run out of stamina, or they're dead, which again, goes very well with my HP leech. I also found a fun way to break the game with it. When you're fighting humanoid enemies, if you parry their attacks, they'll be stunned for a few seconds, which means you can use your charge attack to hit them rapid fire for a few seconds, then right before they recover, do a riposte on them for even more damage. Then you can wail on them again while they recover from that. What? Don't look at me like that, this was broken when I got here. I just broke it further. In any case, I unlocked an ancient portal, which you can use to warp across the map if you find others. Very useful that. Then decided it would be smart to build a base nearby so that I could always warp around the map at a moment's notice. Wow, what a beautiful thatch base. If only I had someone who would gather wood and upgrade it for me while I work on other important things. Carl! Important things like exploring the nearby dungeon, which is essentially a maze filled with enemies. You're absolutely supposed to be in here with a party, slowly going through the halls and finding all the hidden loot. But considering it's just me, I have to play a bit less aggressive than I normally would. Well, okay, I'm still aggressive as hell, but I'm definitely sneaking around and making use of my invisibility more than normal. But good news! If you can take out some of the stronger enemies in the dungeon, they'll drop loot you normally wouldn't be able to make yourself, like these bronze pants and gloves, for example. In fact, I'd argue that this is how you're supposed to upgrade your main tribesman, because as we're about to see, getting into the next technology age takes some heavy effort if you stick to what you can make yourself. In order to progress the tribe to level 2, we need the following: farmland, a craftsman's bench, wooden foundations instead of thatch, 20 planks, ground spikes, and we need to beat the first boss, the saber-toothed predator. Now luckily, most of that isn't too hard to make. You'll need pretty much every crafting station available to you, but so long as you explore the map, you'll be just, what the hell is that? Is that a giant snake? Alright, nothing we can't handle. I've got Fists of Fury with your name on it, and I can't escape. Boy, it sure would be great if I had a partner who would help me out of this predicament, Carl! So yeah, don't aggro the giant snakes if you're playing solo. Good to know. Remember how I said the invisibility skill was definitely the skill of choice when we started? This is one of the many reasons why. And with my stuff recollected and some very important life advice gained, I beat the map out of all the surrounding barbarians and finally learned the location of the first boss. To be fair, I probably should have known just from looking at the map, but hey, at least we've got confirmation. I also found a way to break the game a bit more. Normally, falling off a cliff is a big no-no, but so long as you have a relatively flat cliff face to work with, you can actually fall down while occasionally grabbing onto the cliff to make your way down safely. Now getting back up is a different story, but I can't hold your hand all the time. Either build some stairs or invest in the portal network. Use your noggin. In any case, let's get to boss fighting, shall we? But we can't just rush into the temple. We need to summon the boss first. And in order to summon the boss, we need to gather some materials. One of which we can't craft on our own. A worship container. Dropped by elite enemies inside a barbarian barracks, you'll have to make your way through an entire army of barbarians to collect these containers. It's not much, but it's honest work. But with all of the boss summoning ingredients in hand, it's finally time to see what we've signed up for. Oh good, it's a temporal saber-tooth tiger. This could only go well. Alright you, come on over here so I can kill you with my fists. Whoo, that's a lot of damage. Oh, and I'm bleeding now. Fantastic. So, good news, bad news. The good news is that you can negate all the damage it does by perfect blocking or by dodging, and it does take pretty heavy damage from my weapons. The bad news is that I've apparently broken both of my arms. Oh, and I'm bleeding again. And my armor is broken? Jesus, okay, duly noted, don't get hit by the big scary tiger. I decided to mix and match my tactics a bit, which helped create some distance, and lucked out when I stunned the saber-tooth for just long enough to finish the fight. First try, no deaths, easy game for babies. And after taking what is rightfully mine, we can now explore the temple it was guarding. Bet there's some good loot in there. Open sesame. Huh, okay, that's a big room. And inside said room, several chests. One that includes a mysterious device, one that contains holy scripture, and the thing we came here for, a mask update. With the saber-tooth dead, our mask has gained the ability to revive tribesmen who die. Not useful to me specifically, but a cool feature for anyone playing normally. But with that done, we can now upgrade our tribe to level 2. Hear that, Carl? We're level 2 now.
What? Did you say something?
I said we're level 2 now! What? Never mind! I don't care anymore!
What?
From here, the process is more or less the same. Upgrade your tech tree, craft the new crafting stations and items, upgrade your weapons and armor, and explore the map to find the next boss. But before we go, another little fun fact about why you shouldn't play solo. See my proficiencies here? See how they only go up to 60 for some of them? Well, look at Carl's stats. Notice anything different? Turns out, tribesmen can have better stats than you. I kept wondering how I was supposed to unlock better passive skills if I couldn't reach level 90 or 120, but now we know. It's not meant for me. It's meant for my tribesmen. Now, there is a mask skill that lets you literally take over a tribesman and play as them, and I think there's another skill that lets you respawn with a tribesman skill tree as well. So it's not like only the tribesmen get to have fun with level 120 skills. But as far as playing solo goes, we're capped at 60. Why did I do this again? Oh, right. I've got the dumb. But you know what else I've got? Llamas. And with a little ingenuity, we now have a pack animal that we can ride. This not only speeds up travel a bit, but it also greatly increases our carrying capacity. Congratulations, Llama. You are officially better than Carl. But why stop there? If we go out of our way to use one of our mask skills to scan the area where panthers frequent, we can find baby panther paw prints. Find enough of these, and a female panther will spawn. After that, all we need to do is observe her hunting, then wait for her to bring her food back to her den, which takes a little bit of time and some sneaking. So if you've got the conquest mask, you're gonna have a good time. And once you follow her back home, you'll find the baby you were looking for. Then all you've got to do is set up a wooden trap, and with a little luck and bait, it'll wander into the trap, letting you adopt it. Because that's how nature works. Don't question it, don't worry about it, this is completely normal. Hurry, Carl, shove this jungle cat in your basket and let's get the hell out of here. And with that done, it's time for a little reorganizing. Llama, you are now slightly better Carl, and you, my little dumpling, are better Carl. The best Carl, even. And after gathering a boatload of resources and waiting about 30 real-life minutes for my in-game cotton to grow, I can finally give better Carl the saddle he deserves. Alright, Carl, don't disappoint me now. I spent a lot of time and resources to get you. Holy hell, look at him go! And he can jump? 10 out of 10. 14 out of 10. Best Carl out of 10! With Carl's assistance, I was able to explore the map at a much faster rate, and did some Holy Ruin raids where I not only found more goodies, but also tested out some of the weapons I've been ignoring up to this point. If I'm being honest, I think we lucked out early. There's plenty of cool weapons to choose from, and they each have their own benefits, but the gauntlets just fit my playstyle the best. There are some dual swords that I'm a bit fond of though. They attack incredibly fast and do a bleed effect, which is great for additional damage. But there's just something primal about the gauntlets that calls to me. Not sure why. Oh hey, you're new. Okay, I guess we're doing the whole ancient relics are actually incredibly advanced technology thing. Got it. These things are very hard to fight if you don't know what you're doing. You need to dodge their attacks constantly, and fighting them with melee requires extra concentration. Once you recognize their attacks though, it's not so bad, as a majority of them are easily dodged if you know what to look for. This does bring up a point that I'm starting to feel more and more though. As I progress through the game, it feels like the upgrades I'm getting aren't quite enough to keep me even with the challenge I'm going up against. Don't get me wrong, I recognize I'm fighting at a disadvantage since it's just me over here, and not a whole party of Carls throwing themselves into the grinder. But the further into the upgrade tree I get, the more I feel like we're increasing in smaller and smaller steps, while the enemies are advancing at the same pace as always. Could be nothing, but considering how hard some of the enemies hit, and the fact that the only way to potentially compensate for that is to steal higher tier armor from enemies and to pump the physique stat, I don't know. Feels a little bit bad. Good thing I've got better Carl here to help me skip through the dungeon. Obviously this was the intended clearing method. Silly me. Anyway, after solving some puzzles with violence, and gathering up some ancient technology that lets me create my own custom portal stations, if I want to, I finally beat the mini-boss hiding inside the ruins and received my prize. Passive upgrades that I can insert into my mask. Alright, that was probably worth it. And after building a special room for some of the stolen technology I took from the dungeon, we now have a mask station. Here we can uncraft any masks that we've found from elite enemies, which in turn lets us equip them ourselves. Nice. But I'm not interested in switching masks. I just want my passives. Things like 5% more damage overall, 4% more gauntlet damage, things like that. But that's enough faffing about. It's time to fight the next boss of the run, the Poison Fog Frog. Interestingly, the frog itself really isn't much of a threat, since it moves very slowly and doesn't have very much health. The real problem is the arena, which is surrounded with poisonous fog. The longer the fight lasts, the more poison status stacks you get. The more poison stacks you get, the more poison damage you take every second. Which means this fight very quickly becomes a DPS race. At least when you play it like I do. Luckily, you can't get more poison stacks when you're in the near-death state. which means if you spam healing items and recover from that before the boss kills you, you can pop back up, good as new, and finish the fight like nothing happened. I didn't hear no bell. 2 down, 3 more to go. Up next is the Vajra Ape. He's bigger, faster, and stronger too. And he's the first member of the DK crew. Hey, wait, put me down. That's not a toy. Put me down. Sweet mother of God, someone help. I need an adult. So, that happened. This fight revolves around making sure you don't get grabbed. The ape is pretty easy to read, so as long as you don't goof up your dodge timing and keep an eye on his arms, you'll be okay. Just put all that Dark Souls training to good use. You got this. He will try to leave the fight on occasion, climbing up a tree to heal, but a headshot seems to bring him down no problem, which then opens up the beatdown buffet. Now, he does have a phase 2, where he picks up a tree trunk and begins to use it as a melee weapon, but just like before, so long as you're paying attention to his attack patterns, you really shouldn't have any issue dodging his swings. Still an easy game for babies. If you ignore the insta-kill movie did earlier anyway. What else you got? What the? Invasion? What invasion? I didn't approve that. Well, shame they announced it so far ahead of time, because I had just enough time to upgrade the front of my base to a better material, and make a bit of a funnel to the front door. I also developed a new weapon with my latest round of technology upgrades. Guess which one? So yeah, that funnel, really effective when you've got firebombs on tap. God, I wish I had these things during the first phases of the game. Well, so much for that. Cute distraction, but I've got bigger fish to fry. Oh crap, looks like some of the invaders found the weaker back door in the middle of the chaos. This is your fault, Carl. You're bad.
What?
Boss number 4, the Sky Shading Tempest Griffin. Doesn't really look like a griffin to me, but sure, whatever. This fight requires you to have a ranged attack in order to fight back, which means if you haven't been doing anything with that up to this point, you may be cruising for a bruising. Or at the very least, cruising for an elevator ride to about 900 feet up in the air, followed by a swift ride back down to Earth. So yeah, don't get grabbed by the bird. At least I get to talk about bows for a bit now. There are actually 4 different types of bows in Soulmask. There's the regular bow, the long bow, which does a little more damage but takes longer to shoot with, the rapid bow, which fires quickly but does less damage, and the great bow, which takes forever to draw, but always seems to do 1,000+ damage with every hit. Considering this boss takes its sweet time up in the sky and flies in a predictable circling pattern, I opted for the great bow myself. And besides, it's not like the Griffin's hyper beam attack goes very fast. All you have to do is just move slightly to the left or right and avoid the dust storm it kicks up, and you're golden. Phase 2 is a bit different, with the Griffin landing and doing more of those hyper beam attacks, but I just kept peppering it with arrows and didn't have any real issues. And considering my bow can do upwards of 3,000 damage on a critical hit, this boss wasn't long for this world. So long, beastie. It was fun while it lasted. And with the Griffin dead, there's only one more boss to go. But this one isn't gonna be so easy, because the final boss is in the snow-covered mountains, where the cold is just as much your foe as the enemies are. Also, because it's hard to explain exactly how big this game is in video format, look at this map. This game is enormous, and the fact that I have an entirely different map to explore when we get to the expansion is making me a bit nervous, considering my playtime is already creeping towards 100 hours. At least the views are nice. Oh yeah, this game has gliders, by the way. Forgot to mention that. Anyway, time for the final boss of the base game, the Titan Mammoth. This fight was easily the hardest fight of the 5 we've had so far, but not because of the reasons you might expect. Yes, the Mammoth has a solo player insta-kill attack, where you get stuck in a block of ice, and yes, it has more stamina than a Dark Souls 3 boss, and only just shy of being on par with Elden Ring, and yes, it does have more health than any other enemy we fought up to this point. But those obstacles are surmountable with patience and practice. No, the real reason it's the hardest enemy in the game is because of the cold. And more importantly, it's phase 2. Every time the Mammoth hits you with a cold attack, you get stacks of the extreme cold status. This status reduces your movement and attack speed, and makes you susceptible to freezing solid, easily countered by having a torch in hand. But then comes phase 2, where the Mammoth increases the cold aura, and adds the icy cold status to the pile. Exhaustion builds quickly, movement speed is slowed, and your HP begins to drop every second. This is the Fog Frog all over again, but with a far more aggressive boss. But don't worry, I broke the game again. Because much like the discovery that being downed removes the poison status, being invisible removes the icy cold status. Which means you've got time to apply healing items, organize your inventory, and prep another shot in your great bow to restart the fight. And would you look at that, the Mammoth doesn't even recover health. Of course, as soon as the fight starts up again, the extreme and icy cold statuses come roaring back, which means you're back in a DPS race, but at least I was able to find a way to pause the fight when things are going truly sour. But there's another problem. Because while invisibility may remove aggro and the icy effects, it doesn't restore your exhaustion, which means your stamina bar is probably looking a bit ragged if you're trying to win by attrition alone. which means we've got to find another way to win that doesn't involve having a bunch of buddies backing me up. I tried using poison arrows to help give myself a little more damage over time, which was helpful, but the mammoth didn't take too kindly to that and was very quick to let me know. Stop, I'm already dead! And I even did what I should have done during the Fog Frog fight and got all sorts of armor mods that gave me increased resistance to the cold. And I made myself some hot chocolate to stay warm. But while it helps a little bit, it's not nearly enough to fend off the status effects. According to the internet, unless you've got the armor effect, hot chocolate, and a torch out at all times, you're gonna get hit with those freeze effects. Which means my go-to weapons of the bow, gauntlets, and dual swords are dead in the water. But I've got one more trick up my sleeves. It was there by my side this whole time. My guiding Molotov, the combustible cans. Doing only a modest amount of damage over time, and about 5% more damage if the mammoth is standing in the fire, combustible cans are exactly what I needed. A ranged weapon that allows me to hold a torch in my offhand, while also doing damage over time to reduce the amount of ammunition I need. You'll love to see it. What I also love to see is the fact that Soulmask replenishes my hotbar inventory with any combustible cans I have in my backpack. So I don't need to rifle through my inventory mid-fight to get out more cans. Now it's just a question of whether or not I have the skill to pull it off. Because even with everything I've got going on, we're still getting exhausted, which means we can't take our time on this fight. But my aim is true, and my DPS is constant. Every time the mammoth is about to lose the flame status effect, I reapply it, being sure to keep my distance and dodge any incoming projectiles that would give me the cold status effect. And, despite the fight taking way longer than it should have, in the end, the Titan Mammoth is no more. And just like that, that's all 5 bosses in the base game killed solo. But we're not done yet. Because despite everything we've just accomplished, it's time to start all over and tackle the shifting sand scenario. Boy howdy, can't wait. No, really, I'm actually kind of excited to see what they added to the game with this one. Well, first off, it looks like we've got a whole slew of new hairstyles and character options to choose from, all with a distinctly Egyptian style to them. So that's pretty neato. And there's also a lot more story to this scenario this time around. I couldn't actually tell you what it is, since I wasn't really paying attention, but I think I heard something, the true God deserted our peoples, something, gather all the shards and bring God back. More or less. Another change from the base game, this scenario doesn't give us a choice of mask. Instead, we are forced to take this one here, the Celestial Wings. Okay, I say forced, but in reality, you would have chosen this one anyway. Because while it has a couple fun passive buffs, like reduced falling damage and the ability to transfer 15% of damage taken back to enemies, it also lets you fly. And I would have sacrificed every single Carl I had to have that ability earlier. Right from the start, it's obvious Soulmask expects you to have played the base game before starting this particular scenario. Because not only are you given a chest with boatloads of resources, tools, and crafting stations, but you're also given an actual boat. It's hideous. I love it. Obviously, you're supposed to customize it, considering the game gave you a bunch of boat parts in the chest on the beach, but it does give a good idea of what kind of boats you could make. You could make a little speedster if you just want to get from point A to point B, but why do that when you can build an entire base instead? Huh, this is actually really nice. Soothing almost. Oh look, there's even options to make the tribesmen into crew. Won't be messing with that myself, but hey, cool to know. Well, this island looks like it's in desperate need of a new ruler. I elect me. Any opposed? No? Right, the ayes have it. Now then, let's see where we've landed. Oh no. Oh no. Oh God, no, please, I don't have time for this. Okay, so I went ahead and got a whole bunch of that pesky grinding out of the way, so we've got that going for us now. And now that Arthur Reed won't be pestering me about how having fun isn't hard when you've got a library card, I can do much more important work, like adding a second sail to my boat to make it go faster. Wahoo! Also, I found my new favorite weapon, and it's not a weapon at all. It's the shield. Turns out, this thing had special moves this entire time, like the shield bash attack, which not only acts as a parry, but also does damage. Look how fast these parries are. This is absolutely broken. How is an enemy supposed to even attempt to get an attack off? And better question, why wasn't I doing this the whole time last session? But Lemon, the damage is too low. My guy, do you realize that the enemy can't parry you when you attack with a shield? Hell, they can't do anything. Look at this. Look at this! But if that didn't sell you, this will. You can fucking sandboard on your shield. Why does every game I play now have skateboarding mechanics? And why do I love it so much? Anyway, you know the drill by now. Kill the baddies with extreme prejudice, steal all their valuable loot, explore the world until you find the pyramids that have bosses, and do as many sick grinds as you can while you're at it. Oh, and don't forget that you can fly. So long as you've got mask power, you can just do that whenever you want. But you all don't want to see me grind out materials and explain mechanics again. You want to see the new bosses. And first up on the list is the Swordback Crocodile. Oh, mama, that's a big one. Have at ye. Oh, that's probably not good. Okay, well, we're not dead yet, so as long as we have some time to heal, we can...
Oh god, not again.
So they might have upped the difficulty a little bit since last time. But I'll be damned if an oversized walking purse is gonna end my run. Time to go sicko mode. No, I'm going sicko mode, not you. I do not like that your back fins are glowing right now. Okay, time out. Just give me a second to heal. Okay, new plan. More swords means more damage. Time to monster hunter this bitch. Oh my god, I can't believe that actually worked. You can actually cut off the tail, which means this tail nub is now a weak point. Combined with my dual swords bleed status, and we've got a health bar melter. Unless the crocodile goes absolutely buck wild and decides to enter phase 2. Okay, no problem. We just need to keep up the pressure. Why is this happening right now? Panic? Do we panic? Where the hell do I... Oh, okay, I'm on fire now. And now the entire arena is mud, which makes you move slower if you get hit by one of the crocodile's attacks. And now the crocodile is... on fire? Okay, time out. I have so many questions and my brain feels like it's about to drain out of my ears. So in case it wasn't obvious, Soulmask has definitely upped the ante with the bosses this go around. The first boss alone has 3 or 4 different status effects that it's causing, all of which require very different items to mitigate. If I'm being honest, your best bet is to just not get hit. At this stage of the game, I'm not sure we have enough resources to really counter everything the boss is doing, so playing perfect might just be the way to go. But despite how frantic and how steep of a difficulty curve this fight is, I'm actually having a lot of fun. Does that make sense? Like the other bosses in the base game were fine, but this is something else entirely. The base game bosses just kinda go through the motions, you know? They have attack patterns that you can manipulate and predict, but this feels much more dynamic, almost Souls-like, with the constant dodging and the very bombastic, over-the-top attacks going on. Either that or it's like Monster Hunter. I can't quite decide which. Either way, this crocodile keeps pulling new moves out of nowhere, and I'm getting my ass handed to me. And I have no idea how any AI tribesman would survive this fight, because I sure as hell can't. It also doesn't help that this boss has way more health than the first boss of the base game, and does more damage when it hits you. I'm hoping that's by design, but I am starting to get that feeling of power creep again that I got in the base game. You know the one where we can't upgrade our tech because we need to beat the boss, but I can't beat the boss because I can't upgrade my tech. And maybe that's the game's way of saying that I need to go loot enemies for better gear, but when it comes to bosses, I feel like I should be able to meet their difficulty level with my own crafting skill, you know? But maybe that's just the gameplay cycle of Soulmask. Or maybe, just maybe, I just need to get good. Turns out, the whip has a crazy charge attack, where you just swing it around you like a madman without a care in the world, doing hundreds of damage per rotation. And because the boss has multiple hitboxes, and the whip has great range, we're doing lots of damage. And just like that, what was once an extremely difficult boss melted right back down to a completely achievable one. Amazing what the right tool for the right job will do. Just like the base game, the Crocodile's Temple holds more questions than answers, with ancient slates and epitaphs hidden inside the chest it holds. But there's 2 rewards in here that are much more valuable than any ancient script. A new mask, and a chest full of flying ship parts. Oh my yes. All we gotta do is connect this here anti-gravity engine to our boat, add some anti-gravity skids to the bottom, and put on a few wings for a good measure. Then we just need to add a little bit of whatever the hell these power crystals are made of to the engine, and it's alive. It's alive! It's alive! Okay, hats off to the development team. I was a bit skeptical when I heard they were adding an expansion to the full release of their game, but I guess this is what happens when you let your team cook for a year during early access. I almost feel like I'm playing a different game, and I mean that in the best way possible. Like the base game was solid and did exactly what it needed to do, but this is just something else entirely. The best part is that this adds a whole new element to the game. No longer do I have to sneak around the outside of barbarian bases looking for the entrance, or noisily making my way through their walls with a battering ram. Now I can just dive bomb from up above into the center of their camp, screaming like a banshee while I sling my whip around like a howling tempest. Yes sir, I am, as the kids say, having fun. And I love that for me. In fact, I'm feeling so good that I'm gonna let this poor sap out of this cell. No starving to death for you, my good man. You're welcome. I said you're welcome! Well, I found Carl. I also love the fact that I can just leave my ship running up in the air. No delicately landing it every time I want to go somewhere. Just jump out of the boat when you arrive and fly back up to it when you're done. No chance of bandits destroying your base or invading you. Just the peace and quiet of the winds and clouds. I mean, I say that, but then there's whatever the hell that is off in the distance. Pirates? Is that flying pirates? Whatever. I don't have time for that. I'm busy with land raids. Watch my ship for me, Carl. I'm going in. For liberty and the good of mankind. Oh, right. I forgot to open my wings. Well, it never happened if no one's around to tell the tale. Such a shame that everyone here was dead when I got here. But after killing everyone in sight and stealing the loot, which included a module that makes it so that all of my tribesmen around me get wings as well, I raid a few more camps just for funsies, and actually remembered a superhero land this time. Nailed it. I gotta say, I'm really liking this new map so far. Lots of strange and wonderful things to discover while flying around. Like this mysterious island. What is this mysterious portal? What could it be? I guess we'll never know. I'm too busy raiding forbidden temples for hidden knowledge to care. And I'm delighted to report that the whip class is just as effective against metal enemies as it is fleshy ones. The sexy party lives on. But then, disaster. Because partway through the dungeon ruins, I come across this monstrosity. A patroller. And aside from some very heavy melee and ranged attacks, it can also call for backup. A lot of backup, who all hit just as hard as it does. And good news, when you respawn, the enemies are still there. And the mini-boss regains all of his health, which means every time we die, we have a harder and harder battle to win. I'ma be honest with you, I couldn't do it with this one. The lasers hit too hard, there's too many enemies for a single player to handle, and despite getting the boss health below half, it isn't long before the enemies pin you into a corner, then squeeze you out of it like the last bit of toothpaste from a well-used tube. There was a second there where I thought I had it cheesed, where all of the laser minions were out of the way and the mini-boss itself was reduced to shooting long-range electric blasts at me, but then it decided to summon more melee minions, and you can guess how it went from there. I was hoping that I might be able to kill the next boss, and therefore gain the ability to upgrade my equipment and kick the patroller's ass into next Tuesday, but unfortunately for me, the difficulty curve is even sharper this time. If the crocodile was a spike in difficulty, the Anubis Hound's difficulty can only be registered on the high end of a Richter scale. It does almost 700 damage with its basic attack, has a temporal time effect where it appears to be in one place but is actually in another, and even has ranged attacks to help it punish you whenever you try to heal. I hate to say it, but I think this might be where the run dies. But don't worry, there is still hope, because while Lemon might not be able to beat the boss, we still have Carl.
Rise, my minions, for tonight we dine in...
Carl, deploy your wings.
Carl, deploy your wings!
He's probably fine. Alright, Carls, I've given you the finest bronze armor and weapons I can make. Don't let me down. And me and one Carl are immediately dying. You know, maybe trying to beat the game with only the AI is a bad idea. Good call, Carl. Way to keep me away from that one. Appreciate the save. Yeah, no, this ain't happening. I'm sure there's a lot more I could have done, like leveling up Carl's actual stats and doing more scavenging to get even higher tier loot, but considering I've been playing this game for about a month already, I think that's about as far as I'm going to be able to get playing the game wrong. But in the interest of fairness, I am curious about how much different the game runs when you're playing it correctly. So let's give that a quick go. And playing Soulmask correctly means collecting tribesmen like some sort of legally ambiguous animal-monster hybrids. It is an interesting system to play around with though. You only have so much room in your party and your tribe, so if you're running low on space, you might want to pay attention to the barbarian level before converting them to your tribe. Or you can just do what I did and treat your tribe like it's a giant ant colony, swarming over any and all obstacles with zero concern for their safety. It works surprisingly well. And after converting some of the stronger guards of this mini dungeon to my cause, we've got ourselves a nice little colony going. Time to get to work. Not me though, I'm just here to supervise. I set up the bare basics, a bonfire and some storage chests, but after that, I decided to let my tribe do all the heavy lifting, assigning tasks to tribespeople however I saw fit. If we were taking this super seriously, I'd probably check the individual strengths and weaknesses of each member, giving them tasks that work best with their skill pool. But we're just doing some new boot goofing here, so randomly assigned tasks it is. Now, I did build a house to get them started, just so we'd have somewhere to store all of our crafting stations, and because I felt bad about them using their bare hands to harvest trees and rocks, I did give them some basic stone tools to help with their tasks. But after that, I just kinda let them do their own thing. And I gotta be honest, not only was it fun to watch my little worker bees go about their days, but the amount of work taken off of my plate, in comparison to playing solo, was enormous. For example, I can just pick a structure I want built, then I just place its blueprint where it needs to go. I don't have to harvest the materials to make it, I don't have to craft those materials together to make the building part, I just have to point my workers to where I want it to go, and they take care of the rest. And remember that upgrade the base option I was yelling at Carl about earlier? Well, there is nothing like coming back home from a quiet midnight stroll through the jungle to find that all of your thatch buildings have been replaced with wooden upgrades. Now, they may not do things in the exact order a sane person would have done them, but it's less about brutal efficiency and more about the boring stuff you don't want to do yourself getting done. You know how when you play games with friends, there's always that one friend that just likes to make bases? This is that, minus the arguments about whether or not putting lava next to the sheep pen is a good idea. Alright, my beautiful swarm. Let's go get us a little bit of revenge, yeah? Well, there's definitely still a bit of a learning curve when it comes to using a tribe to tackle a boss, but if you give your tribe the right weapons and armors, and a healthy pile of healing items, they definitely help smooth out the difficulty curve. You'll love to see it. And that goes doubly so for raids. The simpler enemies in the game can't take out chunks of your swarm like the bosses can. And if you've been leveling your squadron up appropriately, elite enemies and dungeon runs become a much easier task, which means more loot for you and even easier raids and boss runs in the future. It even gets to the point where you almost feel bad for the enemies, because when you build a squad that works well together, the wombo combos never stop. But the best part about having a tribe is the fact that it lets me get a bit, shall we say, creative. Behold, the charcoal throne. Not only does my ship now have a sharper aesthetic, but it also has a nice little walkway around it. Why? Well, if we take a peek inside, I think you'll get your answer. With Carl over there on the grinder making carbon powder, other Carl at the distillery making mineral oil, and other Carl at the weapon station combining those two things with some clay, I have literally created a floating firebomb factory. A floating firebomb factory that can hover quietly above enemy bases, allowing me to casually walk around the sides of my ship, dropping fiery liquid death from above. Uh-oh, looks like someone set your explosives on fire. What a shame. God, I love it when games let you think outside the box. This would be so much harder if we had to assault the base from the desert floor. But up here, we have the high ground. And that means never-ending waves of flame and explosions for anyone below. I don't think their ballistas can even reach me up here. And thanks to my tribesmen becoming honorary members of the Firebomb Academy, there's no danger of running out of good times. Oh, what a day. What a lovely day! But that's about all the time we have. And, at the very least, you can beat Soulmask base game as a solo player. And who knows, maybe someone more skilled than me will prove that you can beat the Shifting Sands expansion too. But today is not that day. As far as final thoughts go, I had a really good time with Soulmask. It's got a little bit of clunk to it, but not in any meaningful way. And the tribe system and the game loop are extremely fun to play around with. The difficulty curve might be a bit steep at times, but if you're playing the game the way the game intends you to, it's probably not that bad. This game is also probably one of those games that's an absolute blast to play with friends. Or if you're the competitive type, I can see all sorts of shenanigans being possible in the online mode. Especially with flying ships and bases now being a thing in the expansion. God, can you imagine? In any case, a big thank you again to Soulmask for sponsoring today's video. Thanks for letting me break your game. And if you liked what you saw and want to play it yourself, you can buy it on Steam now. Just use my link in the description or pinned comment down below. And remember, if you buy it sometime in the next month, you'll get the Shifting Sands expansion completely for free. But other than that, that's all I've got. Take care of yourselves, be good to one another, and I'll see you all again soon.